Tonight I have the distinct honor of introducing to you the Salutatorian of the class of 2023, Chloe Chan. Over the past 4 years, I have taught Chloe in classical and American literature and have served as her senior thesis advisor. I enjoyed every moment with Chloe in class, from discussions in 9th grade during first period, my all-time favorite section, to giggling on the front row of 12th grade. But my favorite Chloe moments were not actually during class. Instead, they were after school. Chloe and I have a habit of sitting in room 202 for hours, talking about everything, from who she thinks everyone in her class should date, to moral relativism versus moral absolutism, to what it is to genuinely follow Christ in faith. Over the past year especially, she has embraced what it is to be a Christian and to love God first. Along the way, we've also had a lot of laughs. To know Chloe is to be friends with her. Even though she might have the most impressive resume I have ever seen from a high school student. Truly, I would not be surprised if she has security clearance at this point. I believe Chloe's greatest contribution thus far is to the culture here at Cary Christian. She might be the most well-known student at CCS, and that's because she interacts with everyone with a genuine attentiveness and friendliness. She welcomes others without any hint of exclusivity. She honors her heritage by being a haven for the Asian students in our community while uplifting their unique perspectives and voices. She is loved by everyone who meets her, and we are better for having interacted with her. Next year, we will feel her absence in our hallway. My whiteboard will miss her daily doodles and notes of encouragement. But I am confident that Chloe will follow God wherever he leads her, and her impact in the world will be significant because she puts first things first and loves others in a way that reflects the countenance of God. I am proud of you, and I love you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Salutatorian of the class of 2023, Chloe Chan.
Before I begin, I just want to thank all the parents, the teachers, and the staff who made this amazing experience of the past 4 years possible. Just 1 week ago today, for the final time, we were in T's room with that familiar feeling of trying to decipher his weird extra credit questions. I mean, how could we forget that picture of him with the shaggy bowl cut that we had to caption, or that chess problem I didn't even know where to begin, or the most daunting one: impress me. But this last problem that stood in our way was the first of its kind. It was a maze, and probably the most obnoxiously long maze I've ever laid eyes on, and also the most poorly printed one too. As I tried to distinguish between my erased pencil lines and the actual maze itself, a piece of advice struck my mind. In order to successfully start and navigate a maze, you have to start from the finish line. As crazy as it sounds, this idea is deeply Christian. This idea of memento mori that Mrs. Clarkson has been reminding us of is the idea that we remember our deaths and it changes how we live in the present. Whether we know it or not, this truth is ingrained into our hearts. Do you all still remember the day we played splatterball at SSP? I'm sure you remember the biting cold wind, the crunchy brown leaves, and the suspense that was hanging in the air. We were bounced around teams until I ended up on a team with all of the extra people. Me, Garrett, Mia, Chloe Koval, and Zach were the self-proclaimed underdogs because, well, we know I may be a Chan, but I'm no Jackie Chan. We could see our impending doom, but we decided we wouldn't go down without a fight. We coordinated a firestorm of splatterballs that carried us through the first round, and then the second, and then somehow the final round. Knowing our time was near drove us to play the hardest to our very end, to do our best with the time we were given. That's memento mori. It's only natural for us to respond so. I still remember how paranoid we were, watching our backs after the targets were assigned for water wars. I remember that first day. Daniel Jew told our 4th period Spanish class, the best period, that he had sharpied out the name on his slip, ripped it up, and sprinkled little bits of Will Wakefield's name all across the school. Knowing his end, by nature he changed the way that he lived. He was careful and intentional, just as one should be, knowing the end of the water war reign is near. That's memento mori. Our time together has gone by in the blink of an eye. These 4 years have been some of the times I've learned the most. We've laughed the hardest and lived the fullest. Over and over again, I've fallen in love with the compassion, authenticity, craziness, and enthusiasm of our grade. Never again will I find a group of 50 teenagers who are capable of pouring their hearts out to the Lord under a starlit Tennessee sky, yet in the blink of an eye also be totally capable of storming a bean factory and wiping the gift store clean of all of the bean apparel. Our grade can tell you that after 3 years of human trebuchets, there's no sound more satisfying than the fateful sound of potato cannon. You are all strong, confident, and so fun to be around. But all that starts on this side of heaven must tragically come to an end. Soon after we toss these caps, we'll head in our separate ways, and in another blink of an eye, we'll be graduating college again. When we remember that every breath is numbered, every second we spend is another one lost into the chasm of eternity, it changes the way we view our lives. Every moment is precious, and as hard as we try to be the masters of our own destiny, when enough seconds pass, we reach a certain point and realize that we're terrible masters for ourselves. Yet for the believer, there's hope. Our lives may be finite, but we worship a God who is eternal, who allowed us broken creatures to be a part of his master plan for creation. Flannery O'Connor's A Good Man is Hard to Find reminds us of that. O'Connor introduces the main character, a cantankerous, self-righteous, self-centered grandmother who lives in the Christ-haunted South. The grandma claims to be a Christian, yet is everything but. She speaks solely in religious cliches, blessing everyone's hearts and commanding her family to pray about it without ever doing so herself. Because she was born in a family from good blood, she thinks everyone else ought to bow at her feet. Through a series of unfortunate events, her selfishness causes a tragic car accident that injures her family. And as they're sprawled along the side of the road, blinking back the swirling dust, a figure appears. It's the misfit, a vagabond criminal on the run from the law. One by one, the grandma's family members are killed until she is left alone at the mercy of the misfit. She screeches at him, "You've got good blood. You wouldn't hurt a lady. You've got good blood." Almost prophetically, the misfit begins to proclaim the gospel in response. He says, Jesus was the only one that ever raised the dead, and he shouldn't have done it. He's thrown everything off balance. If he did what he said, then it's nothing for you to do but throw away everything that you have and follow him. And if he didn't, then it's nothing for you to do but enjoy the few minutes you have left the best way you can. No pleasure but meanness. Suddenly, the grandma gets it. She exclaims, "Why, you're one of my babies. You're one of my own children." It's not her own good blood that saves, but Christ's. Her blood is just as bad, crooked, and twisted as the misfits. And when the grandma meets her fatal end, her demeanor changes into a posture of reverence, her gaze set on heaven. The misfit mutters that she would have been a good woman if she was confronted with death every second of her life. O'Connor illustrates here the logical end of what Christians often proclaim, but don't fully grasp sometimes. To live is Christ, to die is gain. If Jesus really is who he says he is, it's only right for us to surrender every waking moment that we have at his feet, because he is worthy. He is worthy of our lives. He is worthy of our experiences in college. He is worthy of the careers that we pursue. He is worthy to be at the center of it all. As Christians, we no longer find fear in the finality of death, but hope in eternity. It's the hope of King Solomon in the book of Ecclesiastes in chapter 3, where he writes, "God has made everything beautiful in its time. He has put eternity into man's heart, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from beginning to end." Solomon concludes, "I perceive there is nothing better for them than to be joyful and to do good for as long as they live." This is my life verse, often calling me back to my purpose to live as a Christian, serving as my finish line. What would our lives look like if we lived in light of our mortality? If we lived each moment like it was our very last chance to point the world to our Savior? As as we try to finish this maze set before us, may we remember our numbered days. May we go on despite certainty of darkness ahead. May we go on carrying the hope of eternity in our chests. May we go on, my beloved friends, with gaze transfixed on the glory of finishing this beautiful journey the Lord has set before us. Let us go forth, class of 2023, and start from the finish line. I love you all more than words can say. And go Knights. Thank you.